I love great conversations. Hi, my name is Angel Jones. Thank you for joining me on 12-minute convos where I help you create a brand of your own unique, real self. Listen in as I have conversations with amazing people from all over the world. Good night, Lee Caraher. How are you going on this wonderful, beautiful night?
You know, I am killing it today, so I'm having a great day.
Oh, that's great. It's great to hear. What part of the world are you in right now?
I'm in San Francisco, California today.
Oh, sweet. And which of your talents is responsible for us connecting at this time?
I think it is my talent of connection. I had one of your guests on my podcast called Focus is Your Friend, and we made a great connection, and we've been able to help each other in different things. And he emailed me after he was on your podcast, and he said, I think you'd like this. So I basically, if I've made a connection with someone and they make a suggestion, I do what they say. So here we are.
That is amazing. That speaks to the power of a conversation, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. It does. It really does.
So tell us about your podcast, please.
I have a couple. The one Drew was on was Focus is Your Friend, which is about how to focus on the marketing that matters, because there's so many options today and people are spreading themselves too thin and not making traction. And the other one is called Millennial Minded, and that's a career advice podcast that two of my colleagues, my younger colleagues here at my office, they ask questions that that people want to ask the CEO about career advice, and I tell it to them straight. And we talk about everything from what to wear in the office to what do you do when you don't like your boss and everything in between. And actually, that is more of a narrative production value, and the first one's more of an interview.
Sounds like fun.
It is fun. It's a lot of work. It's so much work to do a podcast well.
It is,
as you know.
Isn't it? It definitely is. So
Yes.
You've been doing this for quite a bit. You're doing 2 podcasts. Tell me, who did you learn the skill of podcasting from?
I learned the skill of podcasting from being a guest on so many podcasts. I've now published 2 books, and when my first book came out was 2014, and I was on over 70 podcasts.
Wow.
Which is a tremendous amount of work to get prepared for, as you know. And I was terrible guest at the beginning, and hopefully I'm a better guest today than I was at the beginning. And in all of that conversation, those interviews, probably half the people I was on their podcast were like, well, do you have your own podcast? Because you should. So, when that many people give you a notion, I sort of took it to heart. And I started with my Focus is Your Friend podcast. And then I went to Podcast Movement this year with my production team, 3 of us altogether, I guess. And we actually put 2 on hiatus and started this 3rd one because we learned so much. And we've been able to really up the game since then. And we'll be bringing back Focus is Your Friend later. We're still retooling how that's going to be, so it'll be different in the marketplace.
All right. Well, I jumped across on your LinkedIn profile before we started, right?
Yeah.
And it was intriguing to me, and I'll give you a backdrop. One of the things I usually share is boom at the end of a conversation, right? I'm like, boom. Well,
boom.
I love it, right? And it actually is an acronym. It's believe only one master, right? And now, actually, like a couple of weeks ago, I realized that there's an extension, and the extension is Boomerang.
Ah, there you go.
Right? So it's actually, I realized that it comes back to who you truly are. Now I'm seeing on your profile here that you have a book called The Boomerang Principle.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
I'm intrigued. Tell us more.
So that book got published earlier this year, and the Boomerang Principle is the idea that if companies and organizations that invite and encourage former employees to return to them have a strategic advantage over those that don't. And I believe so strongly in this. I think this is going to be the key to sustainability for businesses small and large going forward. So I wrote the book to show people how, and particularly older people who may have a different idea of employee loyalty than the younger generation today, that they should not think of former employees as dead to them because they went on and tried to achieve their own goals that didn't have to be accommodated by their own businesses, right? But more to think about employee loyalty for their whole lives. So once you've found someone that you bring into your company or you bring on as a contractor, you've obviously done so much work in figuring out if that's the right person. But I think it's, it's sort of braggadocious of us to imagine that we can hold everybody with us for their whole lives, right? I mean, everyone has their own goals, and you may not be able to offer, a job that actually helps them achieve their goals. Ooh. However, once that person leaves you, let's think about employee loyalty for their whole lives. So someone who leaves you and does something for you because they honored having worked for you, so they give you a reference, or they give you a partner, they become a partner, or they send you a great person to work for you. I mean, that is a loyal act. Being paid while you get work is not a loyal act. So if we just change, my whole book is about how to change our point of view about our relationship with our employees so they can be, 1, much more positive, and 2, much more profitable, and 3, much more long. Much longer, I guess.
Yeah, the longevity is extended.
Longevity is the key.
Love it. Wow, how smart you are. Wow. Well, tell me.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I learned this all the hard way, so who knows?
Yeah. Well, tell me one other thing that you've done consistently over the last 3 years.
So my business, Double Forte, is a public relations and communication business, and nothing has changed more in our culture than how people communicate with each other, and how companies communicate with their audiences and their consumers. So our industry has gone through tremendous change, and my business has gone through tremendous change. But what I've stuck to is just the principles where I started this business on 15 years ago. I've just put them in front of me every single day and not let us stray from them, even as we change our business model while we still serve the clients we have. So just following the principles of my business, I've done with total intention in the last 3 years that we've been dramatically changing our business.
How does that make you feel?
I am super proud of that because I have a company now in many different offices, and we've been able to change how we serve and what we do, even though our function hasn't changed, without giving up our values and our principles. And one of those principles is not just working for anybody. And it would frankly have been a lot easier in some ways just to take the money that came knocking on our door. But that's not our principle. And I think the fact that we've been able to do that, make the changes we've been making, and stick to the principle of working for the right client for the right reason, even though it would be easier just to take the money, really sets us up for the future. And I'm super humbled by the fact that my team, didn't balk when I told them what we were doing and that we weren't going to take some money that would have been easy money. It's really humbling, and I'm really proud of that for all of us here.
You're walking the talk, right? You're walking the talk. And that's great. Suggest to someone that's listening why they should do that. It doesn't necessarily need to be specifically the thing where they are not taking the money, if you would, but most definitely in terms of leading their teams.
At the end of the day, you got to live with yourself, right? And you have to look yourself in the mirror. And if you're not happy with what you see, you got to live with that. I think knowing what you stand for, and how you make choices and decisions based on what you stand for is the most important thing you can do to have a successful business that doesn't just feed your pocketbook, but also feeds your soul. And, that, I think, is why walking the talk and talking the walk is so important together.
Amazing audience. You're hearing it live here from Lee Caraher. Lee Caraher, what is the best place for us to connect with you, follow your path?
The best place to get to me is my website, www.leecaraher.com. And you can find my books, and you can find my agency, Double Forte, there, and you can find my blog there as well.
Love it. Lee, let's switch gears for a moment now, and let me invite you into my time machine that is surrounded with beautiful, warm, blue Caribbean water. Lee, what is your earliest childhood memory?
I wish it was in beautiful Caribbean warm water, but it isn't. I fell down the stairs when I was a toddler, and I remember the feeling of tumbling and landing on with a thud, and I woke up, and my mother, was running towards me with in sort of slow motion with this look of terror on her face, and that is really my first memory.
Wow. So toddler, like 3-ish?
2.5 or
okay.
3,
All right.
somewhere in there.
All right.
She didn't take me outside for like a week because I had a big black eye, and she didn't want anyone to think that she had hit me. So. Oh my gosh.
That's amazing. Wow. So why do you think it's so clear, and how do you see it connecting to who you are today?
I think it's clear because it was so traumatic, right? But I also think it was clear because I just have this vivid, I can see my mother's face as she's running towards me, as she realizes what's happened. And this face of concern and love and care, I think that's what sticks. Horror sticks with you and love sticks with you. And I think that situation was both of those things at the same time.
Well, Lee, can I offer an interpretation to the thought picture you created in my mind?
Oh, no.
Well, Lee, I do love the exact thing you expressed. Even in business, the tumble that one experiences, even the pain that one has after climbing the steps of success, if you would. But what I'd like to connect with is the idea of your mother's wisdom in understanding that if she did carry you outside, despite the truth being that you fell down the steps, the fact of the matter being she could have lost you, right? It could have looked like abuse, right? And to see the wisdom of you leading your team, understanding that we're not going to just take any money, but we want to lead and follow in a way that is in alignment with the principles of what we are doing here, is fascinating that you would use that exact same wisdom that your mother used.
Wow. That is such a gift. Thank you for that.
Thank you for that. You're welcome.
Really, that's a gift. Thank you.
You're welcome. If we fast forwarded to when you were 12 years old, what was your favorite song?
Oh my gosh. So I had to think about this, and I think it was probably Saturday Night by the Bay City Rollers. And you probably don't know this because you're not old enough to know this song, but my friends and I would just scream it all the way home on Friday night from walking home from school. And it was basically SATURDAY night. I mean, for like days. So I think that was probably my favorite song when I was 12.
That's good. That's good. Well, hey, you are an energy bunny, aren't you?
I think everybody has energy, and mine lives outside of my body often.
Well, Lee, we have arrived at our destination now, but before we get off of this time machine, there is a small declaration form, so it's yes or no, possibly a bit more. We're going to move pretty quickly here. Are you ready, Lee?
I'm ready.
Lee, have you chosen someone to pass on your skills to?
My team at work.
Are you married?
Yes.
Do you have children?
2 boys.
Do you believe in God?
Absolutely.
Do you have an inner circle of friends?
I actually have a few based on time. So high school inner circle, a college inner circle, my first job, church, and my philanthropic work, inner circles that don't really combine that often.
Do you watch TV for more than 3 hours a day?
No.
How about 3 hours a week?
Maybe 4 hours a week, if there's a football game
sweet. And what about screen time, the phone and or the computer? Is it more than 8 or less than 8 hours a day? Okay, there we go. I usually do not get to the end of that question. Yes.
My iPad is my book, so that also, and I'm in the PR business, so I'm watching the news all day long on my computer.
If you, Lee, had to share with us your own unique real statement, a statement that represents who you are, what would you say that is?
We all have a gift we can give to the world that will make a positive difference for the world.
Love it. Lee Caraher, this was such a great pleasure. Before you leave, is there anything else you'd like to share with our amazing audience?
First, you do have an amazing audience, and I'm so impressed with your huge project. I really think it's going to be an important body of work that you and everybody else is going to reflect on for a long time. So thank you for having me. And if your audience wants to, interested in how to run a positive, profitable company, I've written those 2 books about it. And you can go to my website, leecaraher.com, to find those. And if you're interested in working with us in the public relations and influence marketing, you can find us at double-forte.com.
Love it. Lee Caraher, thank you for being on what is inspired by 12-Minute Convos with Angel Jones.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being on 12-Minute Convos with Angel Jones. Stay tuned for more from our advertisers.
Diabetes is a mountain pandemic. It's a disease that's not acute but chronic. Similar to this rhyming method, I have simplified the definition, the signs and symptoms, and the complications of diabetes for both adults and children in my books, Poems for Patients, A Focus on Diabetes, and The ABCs of Diabetes for Children. These books are available on Amazon.com, and for more information, you can visit my website, poemsbyaj.com. That's poemsbyaj.com.